Hey everyone, my name is Ryan. I work here at Crow Canyon. Today we're going to be covering our onboarding and HR request applications for Office 365, SharePoint Online, as well as SharePoint On-Premise. We're just going to get started here in a few minutes. I'm going to wait for some folks to trickle in. While we're doing that, I'm going to launch a poll here just to get an idea of what version of SharePoint you're on. So go ahead and fill that out when you see it pop up. And then we'll get going here in a sec. Alrighty, again, for those who are just joining, we got a poll up here talking about what version of SharePoint you're using. You see that pop up, go ahead and fill it out, and then we're going to get started here on the demo in just a sec. Let a few folks kind of come on in. Okay. Alrighty, well, let's get into it. I see a lot of you guys have voted and pretty evenly split between Office 365, SharePoint Online, and SharePoint On-Premise 2013, 16, or 19. So I appreciate you guys running the poll for me. The great thing about our applications is that they work in both on-premise and in the cloud. So we do have options for all of the versions of SharePoint that were selected today. Again, for those who are just joining us, my name is Ryan. I work here at Crow Canyon. Today we're covering our onboarding and HR request applications, like I said, for both on-prem and the online environment. A little bit about Crow Canyon. For those of you who don't know us, we've been around since 1999. We started as a help desk company, and we've been developing and building on SharePoint for quite a while now. Our out-of-the-box applications fit nicely within your guys' environment. And so the cool thing here about working with Crow Canyon as an add-on to your existing SharePoint environment versus, say, another third-party vendor is that all of the data, all of your information is stored or self-contained within your either SharePoint tenancy or farm, Office 365, right? No matter how you look at it. But the cool thing here is that we build all of our applications on top of our own tool set. So maybe those familiar with the SharePoint space or 365 space are comfortable with InfoPath or SharePoint Designer, maybe the Power Platform. We go about things a little differently. We have something called the Nitro Studio, and it's basically our tools, right? Our forms, our workflows, our reports, kind of everything that goes into our applications. We design, operate, and we support. So a few positives, in my opinion, is that from a support perspective, it gives us a quicker turnaround time to answer questions, help people to get up and running a little quicker. I think it's a little slight edge over the Power Platform, mainly because you get a little bit more personalized experience with our support team versus, say, Microsoft as a company. And then the second big piece here is that the cost is fixed, right? So you're not having to worry about how many workflows you run per month, things like that, how many users you have. Our applications come in a package, and once they're installed, you guys use them as you see fit. So that's really kind of a long and short of it is the point I'm trying to get at, I should say, is that once the application's installed in your environment, not only do you own the data, but you also have the ability to go in and change the application after the fact. So you can really take ownership of your tools once they're installed within your space. We've been doing a few of these webinars based on managing, maintaining, engaging your remote workforce, right? Due to the current situation a lot of us are in, whether you're abroad or here in the States, is that we're working remote, right? Something that we can't avoid, it is what it is. So we've been doing kind of a series of webinars on the different applications we offer, starting with the self-service portal. So just briefly before I hop into the demo, what we do with our self-service portal, and then we have some videos on demand, previous webinars that cover this. So if you're interested, it's on our website. But basically what it is the tip of the iceberg, right? Your end users come in, they submit a request, whether it's for your IT department, like we did last week or 2 weeks ago, contract management, purchasing, purchase orders. Today, we're going to be covering HR requests and onboarding, but basically this landing page is presented to them with these options to submit requests across your various departments. Once the request is submitted, it then gets routed to the backend department. So what we're doing is we're trying to create a natural extension of your 365 environment, right? So they log in, they see Office 365, they route to the portal, they can create requests via emails, and then we get to that application layer where the actual technicians and departmental teams work. And that's what we're going to be focusing on today, specifically with HR requests and onboarding. So when we look at these applications, I just kind of want to highlight what a potential portal could look like. This portal in this case is going to be HR specific. The employee portal can service the top level. The HR portal can service the secondary level, meaning you can have a multiple tiered portal structure. But this gives you an idea of what we can do from a portal perspective. So your end users land here. Now the portal is completely configurable from the imaging on the background, the box colors, how you present requests at the top here. But really the functionality is based around the forms and the workflows. So the submit request is linking to a Crow Canyon form. And we see some information populate on the form from maybe our SharePoint user profile, maybe Active Directory. But you can see I'm logged in as my admin account up here in the upper right-hand corner, and my information is coming over with it. My email, my department, my phone number, maybe location is one you want to add in here. But the idea is that these forms are configurable to capture the information that you need to support your team. And then what's nice is that they have the ability to select categories and issue types related to their request, right? So it's not just a generic request kind of thrown into the HR department, it's specified. So what I mean by that is if they select a category, let's say it's benefits, they're going to see an issue type specific to benefits. In this case, add family member, right? Maybe they want to add someone onto their insurance, whatever it may be. But if we come in and we toggle the category type, we say hardware request or access request, let's do that. Maybe they need a name change in one of their systems. You have the ability to kind of build a parent-child relationship between these two lists. So when it comes to assigning tickets, this becomes more and more important. Let's just put in a new request here. Make it super generic, okay, and I hit save. So what happens, so you can see it's thinking, right? Item created successfully, then a few things happen. The end user gets an email notification saying, hey, your request has been submitted. They can view and track the request from that email. The internal department, internal team member, group of team members, we'll get into that in more detail in a second, get a notification saying, hey, this new request has been created. What's also cool, and the reason I like these portals is because we start to take a little bit deeper dive into the permissions perspective. When we talk about our applications, or really any application, in my opinion, it breaks down into 3 different levels of permissions. You have your end users, your ticket submitters, which we're looking at right here, right? Our end user portal. Our departmental side, or our HR staff, in this case, working requests, managing requests. And then the 3rd level is the admin side. People can come in and change forms, change the portal, things like that. What's cool about this is that this view here is for your end user to view their submitted requests. So we have the backend application up right here where your technicians work out of, which we're going to get into a second. But what's nice about the portal is that it keeps your end users completely self-contained in their space. I know with HR, it's very, very important that people can only see what we allow them to see. And with the site settings and the security settings around not only the portal, but the backend, gives us the ability to do so, right? So even if your end users were to get the URL of this backend application, it's automatically going to reroute them to the portal based on the permission structure that we have in place. So from a viewing perspective, like I said, it keeps them in their lane. So you can see they have a view of all the requests that they submitted. Now, obviously, this is a demo site and I'm an admin, so I see everything. But when your end user logs in, they're only going to see requests specific to them. So they can see what the assigned status is, maybe who is assigned to the account, any notes that have been left by the technician. That departmental manager can be viewed from here, right? There's that need ABC description. So again, it's just another, not only is it a way to submit requests, but it's another level of communication that you can provide between the departmental staff, the HR team, and your end users. Cuts down on phone calls, emails, walking into offices. It gets them more and more used to dealing with this interface, this portal interface, with that HR team. We do also have a knowledge-based library, which is kind of cool. So you can actually publish KB articles for your end users on this portal. So instead of having to send an email over and over again, right? Like, I need to add a family member into my claim insurance. The idea is that it's available here and they can search it, right? You know what I mean? So instead of having to write the same email over and over again, it's there and it's accessible from their space. So one other thing I want to touch on while I'm here in relation to this knowledge base article library is something that we're doing here at Crow Canyon that's really cool. In my opinion, it's super cool, and I think it's going to be the forefront of a lot of conversations moving forward, is that we're going to be more and more involved in the team space, specifically around request creation and knowledge-based article lookup. So if you haven't seen it before, it's actually a lot of fun. What you can do is you can embed a support bot, AI services, quote unquote AI services, into your team space and allow your end users to sift through knowledge-based articles via Teams, have technicians get notifications via Teams, and have them or your end users actually submit requests via Teams as well. So like we have a something set up for our IT department here at Crow Canyon. So just to give you an idea of what it would look like, you can log in, you can select a service area where you need assistance. You can see we have a few. So if you have multiple Crow Canyon applications, it gives you the ability to build one into an interface. Let's say they forgot their password to your HRIS system. And what it's going to do now, it's going to leverage that KB article library I was just showing you to say, okay, what information can I put in front of them to hopefully alleviate their request before they submit it, right? So it's thinking, and then it's going to present me with some articles that are leveraging that library. But the cool thing here is that maybe your end users don't like to read, or maybe the article doesn't match their requirements one for one. So it gives them the ability to come in and do more. Issue's been resolved, enter more details, submit tickets, right? Start over. So it still gives them the ability to submit the request. And really it's the same functionality to think about it as if we were working from the portal, right? So this is more orientated for our 365 group, but what are we doing? We're capturing their information, who they are, what their issue type is, and what they want to do from here. So we're getting them to fill out the form, pointing them towards the KB articles first, but they still have the ability to submit the request here. So whether it's through the portal or through the Teams chat, they have the ability to interface with the department's KB articles related to this HR department. Now, another option that comes up a lot, we talk about outside of the portal structure, outside of the Teams spot or the team structure, is submitting a request via email. Absolutely, that's a possibility. So if you want to have a shared inbox, maybe HR at or HR support at, whatever your email domain is, 100%, you can submit your end users can submit emails to that shared inbox, and those requests can be created from that shared inbox. So totally possibility. Now, when we shift to this backend application, I'm not going to spend too much time here because I do want to focus on onboarding a bit as well. But basically, any type of request that's submitted, it hits this request list, right? And then we have a few different ways to view it. We have a manager's dashboard, we have a staff workspace. Really, the idea is that when your HR staff logs in, they're going to see things specific to them, right? Okay, what do I have to work on? What are my requests? What are reports equal to me? How can I come in here and work as efficiently as I possibly can, right? So overdue requests by category and priority, or open requests, sorry, staff load, requests by staff. We're looking at the managerial dashboard here. Incoming requests by month, right? It gives you the ability to build out these different dashboards as well as look at the requests that are pertinent to you. So in this case, we're looking at overdue requests. Maybe in the staff workspace, we're looking at requests equal to me that are due today or less than today, right? So it's giving you your workload for the day, essentially. What's cool about, just a quick sidestep, our reporting feature. This is another one of those functionalities within Nitro Studio, right? That tool set I was talking about. And this is included in the application. So when I talk about Nitro Studio, think of it as an inclusion to the tool. The reports are as configurable as you like them to be. As long as the information lives within the system, you can report on it. So what's nice now is that once the reports are defined and implemented into our pages, you can do some additional functionality with them. You can export them to PDF, Excel. You can email them, you can print them. But what you can also do is leverage our workflow tool to send these reports to a person at a date and time cadence of your choosing. Hey, as an HR director, I want to see all of the incoming requests from the previous month. So Monday morning, first of the month, Monday at 9 a.m., whatever it may be. I guess the first could fall on any day of the week. Let's just say the first of the month, 9 a.m. I want to see all the previous requests from that last month in a report in my email. Absolutely a possibility. They can come over as an attachment. They can come over in the body of the email, and it looks a little something like such. But it gives you the ability to be flexible with your reporting tool. Now, from working the request perspective, I mean, again, this is a Crow Canyon form, so these are configurable. You can, it looks like someone was having a little fun with Pavon, sorry. It looks like I mean, from a configurability perspective, you guys can make these forms your own, right? This is another piece of that Nitro space I was talking about. So the information that we're capturing here from a request perspective is really up to you guys, but we can show you what we have out of the box, right? This first tab is very centric around however the request was submitted. Maybe it came in through the portal, through Teams, or through email, but the idea is the same. Capturing a category and an issue type. Oh, Pavon's the requester assigned to this, so maybe I'm the worst in this case, but the description of the ticket, who the requester is, and then on the staff tab, we can start to look at who the assigned staff is, who the assigned team is, right? Which staff member and what assigned team is associated with this request, and the due date. Real quickly, I want to take a side step here because I do want to talk about how tickets are assigned. And a few minutes ago, I was talking about the 3 different levels of permission groups we discussed within this HR system, right? End users, technicians, and admins. So right now in this form, we're talking about technicians working tickets, departmental staff working requests. The admin perspective is managed through this application admin center, this wrench up in the upper right-hand corner here. It's only going to be visible to those who have proper access, and you can come in here and start to play or change the underlying tools, the underlying functionality of the HR system. So you have access to those Crow Canyon Nitro apps like I was talking about, but you also have the ability to come in and define who these requests are assigned to. So like I was talking about with the on the category and issue type dropdown on the end user portal, that's how we're going to define who the tickets are assigned to. So not only can you assign a team member, you can or a team group, you can also assign an individual person. You can enable a round robin and have multiple people assigned to issue types. Really, however you want requests to be assigned, the option's there. One person, everyone, a group, an individual person, multiple people. The idea is that it's flexible to meet your internal requirements, right? And changing names, making changes on the fly is as easy as coming in and hitting that edit button and let's say changing from James to Scott, right? So we try to make it as configurable as possible, as flexible as possible. I think a big part of why I like our tool so much from a departmental staff perspective and HR perspective is that making changes, we try to make it as simple as possible. So instead of having to rely on IT or your SharePoint admins to come in and make changes for you, we give you the training and we give you the ownership to do so on your own. Kind of a cool feature of the Crow Canyon tool set. Okay, back to the technician side. So this is where we define the team or the staff who's assigned, the request status, and then the due date. I'm gonna update this bad boy to this month to talk about it a little bit. So this due date column, really there's a few different workflows, SLAs, I guess you could call them, that are associated with this date column. And it really breaks down to this. Do you want a date to be automatically populated when a request is created? You know, do I want to set it for 2 days out? And do I want to set it for 3 days out, right? Do I want to notify technicians when a request is coming due? And then how often do I want to notify them? Day of, day before, 10 minutes before, 15 minutes before, right? And then when this ticket goes overdue, what happens then? Do I want to escalate it? Do I want to notify someone's manager? Do I want to roll it to the next person in line? And all 3 of those are possible. And the date and time cadence, as well as the messaging, is up to you. So again, if we refer back to this admin section from the, oh, wrong button, this notifications tab, we can define what the notifications say from a ticket creation or ticket assignment perspective, and then leveraging our workflow tool, we can notify or actually, reassign requests based on that due date column as well. So some functionality there within the tool on how you want to notify and assign requests. Work log is internal notes, right? This is technician or HR staff specific. No one else is going to see this. This is going to be passed back and forth between the team members. Resolution, though, I want to talk about this guy real quick. So these choice columns, these drop-down columns are going to be specific to your organization. We're going to help you set this up, show you where these are during the initial installation process. But if we select one, you can have a resolution notes field pop up here. And just like on the end user portal, this is a rich text column. So whatever information your end users want to get to you in the original ticket, copy and paste, screenshot, images, they can. The same idea goes for the reciprocation, right? Communicating to your end user what the fix is on the ticket. So once that information is filled out, heck, you can copy and paste, like I said, screenshot, whatever it may be. And the request status equals closed. That request or that information is going to be sent to your end user to say, okay, hey, look, here's the fix on your ticket. They can view the request again from their portal. But what you can also do with this resolution notes field is come over here to your knowledge base tab and not only add knowledge base articles to a request, but you can also create KB articles from tickets as well. I talked to a lot of customers, and KB articles with whatever department that we're working with is always top of mind. It's either they're working it or they want to work it, or they want to start creating one. And this just gives you a way to build that KB article library as request comes in. So it's not something you have to have set up before. It's something that can grow as you grow with the program. And then the last one here is related items. It gives you the ability to add in like a parent-child relationship with a task to a ticket, right? So in this case, a ticket comes in and you need to assign a task to a user. You need to assign a task to someone else before this request can close out, right? Maybe someone submits a request to HR and they forgot their login to the ERP system. Well, maybe that IT has to do that and they sent to you on accident, but you still want to track it, reset Ryan's password. So maybe you want to assign this a task to James, who works in IT. Oh, let's do Pavan, who actually works in IT. There we go. And say, hey, reset this password. So what happens is that Pavan's going to get a notification saying, hey, you've been assigned a task. He can work it in his dashboard. If you have the IT help desk system, we can actually create a connection between the HR desk and the IT help desk, and they can be managed in either one. But now you have an extra layer of protection here to say, okay, hey, look, I sent it to Pavan on such and such date with such and such information, and here's where we are in the process. Just provides an audit trail for anything related to that particular request. Another option we have here is for time tracking. It's just a way to manually submit time logs against an HR request, right? SharePoint, whether it's online or on-premise, Office 365 or on-premise, it's never going to be like a time tracking tool. And what I mean by that is you log in and say, hey, it automatically knows that you spent 10 minutes here, 5 minutes here, 20 minutes here. It's just not in that scope. But what we do is give you a nice workaround here with another parent-child relationship between a few different lists to come in here and actually log, a time tracking, help if I spelled right, a new time tracking log against this particular request. We'll say we worked on it for an hour. So you can start to build some reports off of this list, meaning, hey, the ticket was open for 3 days, but actual time worked was an hour. You can start to build that reporting system around that time tracking, that time tracking system. So that's working the request in a nutshell. If you need more information on this, you want to take a deeper dive on how requests are assigned, changing forms, things like that, please feel free to reach out. We'd be happy to take you through a deeper demo. But for right now, I'm going to shift over to our onboarding tool. Talk a little bit about onboarding and user access. Load this bad boy up. Okay, so onboarding, shifting gears a little bit, not too much, but still within the HR space. Let's talk about really there's 3 different workflows when it comes to onboarding, right? Because it's not just a new hire request. It's a new hire request, title change request, right? Mid-board change request, and then departing staff or off-board request, right? So I think the best way to look at an onboard really is as a project, right? Something is created, an onboard, a project is created, and now we have these different tasks associated with that project. So that's how we view the onboarding process. So when like you drill down into an individual onboard, you can see some basic information, right? Start date, person, role, as well as all of the tasks associated with that onboard and an overview of where those tasks stand, the due date associated with those tasks, and who's the assignee, right? So each individual task member or task assignee is going to get a notification saying, hey, I need you to build a credit card, or I need you to assign a credit card to Pavan. I need you to add him to Active Directory, right? And if you have the different Crow Canyon applications like we talked about, you can go in and create requests in those various departments automatically, right? We can start to build connections and really build a complete service desk solution for your organization within your 365 environment. So, and it's just all managed by your HR team from this view. Now, when we talk about submitting a new hire request, firing this process off, getting this started, it all circulates around a role, a task template, right? This role needs these 10 tasks. This role needs these 15 tasks, right? So you can see we feed up through 3 major lists. What applications do they need access to? You can see it's mostly bare. Maybe what physical access they need, any hardware associated with this role, and then any ad hoc tasks. Maybe you're bringing someone on in IT and they're going to manage the help desk versus someone in network, and maybe their permissions of the help desk are a little different, right? But you can see all of these are blank. Now when we come in here and we apply a date, set it out for 14 days so it doesn't yell at me, and we apply a department and a role, you can see that now these selections are going to be pre-populated. So it gives you the ability to build out those task templates based on that role type, right? Once we hit submit for approval, and it goes through your approval process on the back end. Now we leave the approval process open to interpretation because every organization is different with how they have approvals around new hires, right? But once we submit for approval, then we fire off this task view, right? Then we fire off all these different tasks and the ability to manage those tasks from this dashboard, this page, sorry. And then you can filter by your different types of requests. So maybe onboarding here, I want to see all of our onboarding. And the reason I do this is because I want to highlight one other feature we have in this kind of task creation process. And that is the ability to do dependencies. So in this case, this first one I showed you, we fired off all the tasks at once, right? Everything just kind of spits out and say, hey, I need all of you people to do these things. The other option is create a task dependency. So in this case, we're waiting for James to approve the onboard before we kick everything off. In this case, we want Scott to add this person to Active Directory before we can go in and fire off the other tasks related to maybe IT in this case, right? So it gives you the ability to build out different buckets within your onboarding process. So maybe bucket 1 has these 3 tasks, maybe bucket 2 has these 10 tasks, maybe bucket 3 has these 5 tasks, right? You have the ability to find those different bucket levels as you see fit. Now, once a person's on and up and running within the onboarding system, down the road, let's say you want to change their title, right? They're moving from IT admin to IT manager, whatever it may be. That's where our change request process comes into play. So what's cool about this, let's put the date out again, is that we can leverage an employee here. We use Pavan. If I use this correct one, there we go. And you can already see it's filled in his department and his role, who his manager is. So it's doing that for me. What's nice is that it's pre-populating that information we did from his onboard. So that first example I showed you of Pavan coming on as an IT system admin and those tasks that fired off, it's reading from that to pre-populate this information for you. So onboarding is very task dependent upon that role. Change request is going to be dependent upon the user, right? What did we onboard Pavan as? Where does he sit within the system? And it's going to give you that information here. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add in a new manager and I'm going to change the role. He's a system admin. Let's say he's an IT admin now. So now as we work our way through this, come on, load for me. There we go. So now as we work our way through this, we can see that, okay, his new role versus his old role, here are the applications. Here are the ones we need to add, remove, and retain. Basically, it gives you a check versus what Pavan currently has versus what he's moving into, right? So that's going to do that with all of our 3 applications here. And it's only going to create the tasks associated with the ones that need to be, that have some sort of association with them, right? So added or removed. If it's going to be the same, right? If we don't need to change access, we don't need to do anything with particular application, physical access hardware, then we're not going to create a task for it. We're only going to track the ones that are changing or removing, right? Cuts that on the task level. It still stores it into that particular workflow, or in this case, this particular item. But we're only going to create the tasks that we see fit. And again, just like in onboarding, we have the ability to view our different change requests and where they are in the process. So this one is completely completed. We go back to this one as pending approval. Same as in onboarding, we have these different task dependencies in the change request workflow. Okay, so onboard is task template, right? Coming on a role. Change request is new role versus old role, right? What do I currently have versus what am I moving into? And departing staff request is strictly based off the person, right? What does he or she have currently? So if I populate Pavan in here now, again, that information is going to pre-populate. Oh, that's because I was fudging with it. Didn't like that I was making changes. It's going to pre-populate his manager. And we're just going to say, okay, Pavan has his last date's a couple weeks from now. And this is everything he has associated with him. Let's go in and create different tasks to take everything back, right? Recollect hardware, remove him from applications, remove his physical access, right? Gives you the ability to track it. So again, we work our way through the process. New hire is task template based. Change request is new role versus old role. Departing staff request is current role, right? What do I currently have associated with me? And we pull that from, sorry, real quick, ahead of myself, hold on. And the same goes for here, managing those requests, right? Pending approval, this one's in progress, so you can kind of get an idea of what these task status look like. Not started, approved, completed, etc. Right, so you can see the different levels. We have a different dashboard for that. I'll show you in a second. But just kind of show you the types of requests that you can filter through. You can also filter by department. Let's do IT. You can filter by opened or closed, right? You have the ability to filter through different statuses as well. But what I say when I say like, oh, it's pulling from his current information or his current system, we saw that in our users list here. So if I pull up Pavan as a user, I can see all things associated to Pavan with his life at the company. What applications he has access to. And I want to come into the edit version of the form to show you some things. So you can always come in and change after the fact, right? Physical access hardware. Now I highlight this because I'm an admin. I can come in here and change the form, right? I can change things associated with this particular person because I have the permissions to do so. But if we pull this form up in its display version, right, so I went to the edit version, a lot of this information is going to be read-only, meaning that as long as you don't have the proper access, you can't come in here and change things associated with the user. You can strictly view the information associated with the user. So I've talked a lot about permissions. This is just another way that we can highlight the various permissions within the onboarding HR space. But this is the information that we're pulling from when we're talking about changing roles, removing information, etc. So we sort in our users list. We also have an integration with Active Directory. Maybe you want to store that information there. That's also a possibility with our HR tool. So not only can we create a user in Active Directory using your onboard tool, we can remove users from our Active Directory, but we can also push and pull information from our AD as well. That upgrade came directly from one of our customers. It's really helped our the functionality and the fluidity of our onboarding tool. And I think again, it kind of highlights what type of support you can expect from Crow Canyon. Not to blow our own horn too much, but this is something I think is really cool with our company, is that we take the feedback of our customers very seriously, and we think that you guys can help us better our products. This is another example, being able to have that integration with Active Directory in relation to the onboarding product. Okay, so the various tasks, right? They're all stored within their own list. So I talked a little bit about parent-child relationship within the request system, right? Maybe a parent ticket to a child task. The idea is very similar here. So all of those tasks are either created in their own task list, maybe in the different applications if you have multiple Crow Canyon applications, right? So you can see them all detailed out here. But this is a lot, right? To go through each one of these lists and view all the different tasks, you don't want to do that. That's a lot of information to sift through. So what we have here is this admin dashboard. And what it is, it's actually what it is. It's my favorite dashboard that we have in the Crow Canyon space. It's a nice roll up of where all of your tasks sit. So you can see each department, how far along they are in the task completion process. 50%, 20% for Active Directory, and then where we sit in each particular workflow process, onboarding versus change versus offboarding, and then a breakdown of all of those tasks in each separate list views here. So onboarding requests, change requests, offboarding requests. So we have it on a department or a list by list basis in the percentage dashboard, percentage chart here, and then all of the tasks available here for each particular workflow on the right-hand side. So just give you a nice clean roll up from a management perspective, right? So instead of having to sift through each task to see, tongue-tied, to see where we stand in the process, it's all available on the screen here. And much like we talked about in the request management system, if you want folks to be notified when a task is coming due, when a task is created, that similar functionality applies here on the onboarding system as well. And just like in our request management system, our admins are going to have access to the back end of the application for the onboarding tool. And you can come in here and configure different roles. You can change the lists associated with the onboarding application. You can add new applications that give access to and who the owner is going to be. You can add in multiple roles. So you can define as many roles as you'd like. We touched on IT admin, system admin, maybe sales rep, but you can add in as many roles as you want from here, and then the ability to add different applications access associated with it, as well as, again, access to our Nitro Studio. So let's talk about this. We'll bring it up a little bit because I've hammered on the point that the tools are as configurable as you want them to be. Yes, you can make changes through the application admin center, the list associated with the SharePoint site, the 365 site, right? Your roles, your departments, etc. But the tool set that we use for Nitro Studio lives here in this interface. Forms, workflows, reports, that portal that we talked about. I showed briefly the AI services. We looked at a lot of different list roll-ups, some list searches, but everything that we've seen or touched on is somehow associated with Nitro Studio, and this is the interface that we use to make changes. We have training on the Nitro toolset associated with the applications. I always highly suggest it because it gives you complete ownership of your tool, right? So if you're like, okay, I want to build in this workflow, I want to change this form, it gives you the power to go in and not rely on yourself, not have to rely on Crow Canyon or maybe someone within your SharePoint team or IT team to do so, right? You have the full functionality to go in and make this your own. And we try to make it as straightforward as possible. So the forms get a lot of love because anytime we're dealing with, any request or anything within the system, we're dealing with the form, right? So that's the flagship, and it highlights the ease of use that we have within all of our tools. So just like we talked about adding or changing team members on a request type, as simple as coming in and dragging and dropping, things like that, the form mentality is the same. So in my opinion, I see it in 3 different levels. Top level is UI UX, how the form looks and feels, right? Say you want to get away from kind of the generic SharePoint gray and white. Absolutely. You have the ability to change each form to make it look and feel the way you want it to, right? Maybe change the header, the background colors. You can apply your own theme. You can create a theme specific to your organization and apply it to any form that you want within your organization. This is very this is like a creative space, I guess is the best way to say it, right? You can come in here and change the font family, the font colors, the padding colors, the back colors. You could really take it and run with it from how you want these forms to be displayed. And then, like I said, that can be applied to any form within your system. When it comes to adding things, changing things on the form, if those familiar with SharePoint, these are all list columns, right? We have this list, our request list, our new hire request list. If you see something on here that you don't necessarily like or you want to have moved, maybe we don't have credit cards. It's as simple as highlighting the column and removing it. Maybe you want to change, maybe you want to change how the column is displayed on the form, right? You have that ability to do so. And then when it comes to creating columns, adding new columns, we give you that ability strictly or straight from the form designer itself. New demo. And once you add that column, you don't have to leave the screen that you're in. It gets added right to the list, and then you have the ability to add it onto your form. So again, those familiar with SharePoint list, you know that you can add in columns on the list at any time, whether in the list settings or on the list itself. But while we're providing you the same functionality here, the only difference is that you can do it all from one screen. So again, I'm not a SharePoint developer by any means, right? I'm a okay power user, solid power user maybe, right? That space somewhere in there. But I feel confident and comfortable coming in here and making changes on these forms, adding new tabs, changing names, all from the form designer tool. And that's really the idea. I know I've hammered this point a few times, but that's the goal, right? If you're managing and maintaining your own department, you want to be as autonomous as you can. And with our tool set, we give you that ability. Now, if you are developer centric and you have that mind and you want to take it as far as you can, there are developer options here as well, right? So putting in script and submit action buttons, calling out to third-party tools, leveraging external data. So maybe the onboarding system or the HR request system, you want to communicate with a third-party ERP system. You want to update finance information, and you don't want to have duplicate data entry. Absolutely a possibility. Leveraging our REST API services with Nitro Studio, leveraging our external data columns in the form tool. Again, if you want to have that developer-centric relationship with Nitro Studio, it's absolutely there. If you strictly want to keep everything self-contained within SharePoint and you just want to change the forms and the colors, easy peasy, right? So the idea is that it can be focused at any level of your comfortability with Office 365 or SharePoint on-premise. And that applies to all of our features within Nitro Studio. Right now, I'm just touching on the Forms tool. Again, I could spend 3 hours here, easy, talking about the different features. I just wanted to give you guys a taste because I talk about it so much about how configurable these tools are, how configurable this information can be. So I wanted to highlight what that would look like. If you want more information here, if you want to see this in more depth, please reach out. Be happy to do a private demo, talk pricing, how it's going to apply within your organization. I'd be happy to do so. We do, quick tidbit, we do offer Nitro as a standalone, so maybe this process doesn't quite meet what you want from an out-of-the-box perspective. Again, you can either use this application as a base and develop on top of it from there, or maybe you want to use Nitro Studio and build something specific to your HR team, right? All options, all possible within the Crow Canyon space. So that's our HR and onboarding system. Again, if I come back to our little hierarchy structure here, this is just another 2 applications that fit within the Crow Canyon service structure, right? The self-service portal at the top, the HR portal living in its own space, and then the connection between all of our different applications that we offer out of the box. If you're interested in any of these, or like I said, you want a more personalized demo on the HR requests or the onboarding tool, please let me know. I'll be happy to show them to you in more depth. We do have we do have more videos for the previous applications in the webinar series. So like we touched on the self-service portal, we touched on the help desk, as well as purchase and contract management in previous weeks. We'll make sure we send that out in the email, the links to those videos following up after the webinar today. But we do have asset management next week. And then the following week, we're also going to look at project management. So asset management next week, how it fits in with our, our service desk structure, and then project management as well. So if you're interested in those, please feel free to sign up. Contacting us. Oh yeah, I've talked about individual demos, but how do we get a hold of us? Sales@crowcanyon.com. We all monitor that inbox, so feel free to reach out to us there. You can call us directly. Either option is fine, but yeah, if you are interested, please let us know. So for this last few minutes, if you guys have any questions, feel free to shoot those over. I feel like I saw a few come in earlier. We have our CEO, Scott, manning the question inbox. Scott, anything that you wanted to cover that popped up from a question perspective?
No, I answered a couple questions that came in, but of course, like people can always contact us and get more information if they need to, and get a one-on-one demo, like you were saying.
Absolutely. Well, cool. Well, thanks, Scott. Thanks for popping in and helping us on the questions. Thanks everyone for attending. We are going to get you guys the recording and the information post webinar. So thanks again for attending, and appreciate your guys making time here to spend an hour with us. Thanks again.